Hello, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another reading vlog. Since it is now September, I thought it would be fun to get into the fall spirit kind of early and start reading more seasonally fall books. Specifically, I'm going to be reading fall romances for a whole week. Books that I want to read for this video are new releases that just came out in September, but also all three of the books that I want to read for this video are very fall inspired. I haven't really read a fall seasoned romance book before, or like any season outside of summer. I feel like most of the books that I've read take place in the summer, or the season isn't really like a factor. So I am very intrigued to see how authors set the fall setting for books. Either way, I'm very excited to read a fall romance book because this is technically my first one. The first book I ended up picking up was You Again by Kate Goldbeck. I didn't know much about this book going into it. I've just heard people talk about the book, and matter of fact, I've seen a lot of mixed reviews, specifically from people who I get book recs from. So I did go into this book without too much expectation, but I am pleasantly surprised by how much I'm enjoying it. You Again is a retelling of When Harry Met Sally, or When Sally Met Harry. I've never watched that movie, whatever it's called. I think it's When Harry Met Sally. But the book centers around Ari and Josh. Ari starts off the book having just moved to New York to become a comedian. That's like what she wants to do as her career. And obviously being in the entertainment industry isn't like the most lucrative, easy job to come by. So she's kind of doing odd jobs here and there. She's a very like spunky girl, I guess I could say. She's outspoken a little bit, she's a little bit brash, she's not afraid to like share her thoughts. Josh, on the other hand, has just come back from New York, having been in Europe for a while, culinary school. He's very like invested in fine dining cuisine, and I haven't actually read the synopsis of the book, so this is just me explaining what I've read so far. But so far it seems like Ari and Josh have these like chance encounters where they meet every so often, and now I assume that's going to be like a reoccurring theme. It is dual POV, but it's in third person, but I feel like I've gotten a lot more from Josh's perspective than I have of Ari. Like I feel like I understand Josh a lot more than I understand Ari's character right now, so I don't really know how that's going to play out in the future. But there are some aspects of Josh's personality that I really relate to, so I think that's kind of why it's enticing me a little bit. I'm only about 15% of the way into the book, but I am enjoying it so far, which is a good sign. However, I feel like a lot of romance books kind of lose me at like the 50% mark. So fingers crossed I find a 5-star out of these fall romances. I'm getting ready to go out later, which is why I am curling my hair right now. But I did hit the 50% mark in You Again, so I wanted to give a quick little update. So far I'm really enjoying it. I like the dynamic between Ari and Josh. I love when romance books have a little bit of a deeper like messaging story to them, or the characters have a bit more depth to them. I feel like it makes the story more real, and I also think it makes their like problems, if they have it, like if there's a third act breakup of some sort, it makes it seem more believable. I feel like whenever there's no depth to the story, or you don't really know much about the characters, like it's really hard to kind of root for them. Right now, Josh and Ari are very much good friends. They definitely notice that there's an attraction between each other, like on their own end. They're not really noticing the signs that the other person is kind of portraying, but you obviously see it as a reader. So we'll provide a bit of a disclaimer there. Like if you do not like it when the main characters become friends and then they just don't talk to each other about their feelings and they're dancing around it. If you do not like the type of plot in romance books, then I don't think I'd recommend this because it is happening. But in this case, I feel like it kind of makes sense because Ari does not really believe in long-term romantic relationships. It's been implied that she doesn't have a very good view on romantic relationships. I think that's the reason why she's kind of skeptical of love. On the other hand, Josh, my strainer is steaming. On the other hand, Josh is more romantic. He believes in like soulmate connections and things like that. So I definitely see the reason why they're not ending up together, but it is still a little bit annoying to read about. That's pretty much all I wanted to update on the book. I'm gonna finish getting ready. enjoy that book. I think this is the first romance book in a while, or maybe even ever, that I actually thoroughly enjoyed reading from the male romantic love interest perspective. I feel like it added so much to the story and so much to Josh's background that we can understand his character a lot better. And I feel like without that perspective, it wouldn't have made the book as enjoyable. However, that being said, and I think I said this in a previous clip, but I feel like Ari's character was not fleshed out enough. I feel like I understood more about Josh's character and his background and the reason why he is the way he is, more so than I can understand Ari's character. The way she is kind of alluded to, but it's not very strong enough for me to sympathize or empathize with her character very much. And I think they're both written out to be very unlikable characters. Like, I don't think either of them are perfect, or the male main character isn't super swoon worthy. Like, you're not meant to just fall in love with him straight off the bat. And I want to root for these characters even if they're unlikable, because I just want them to be like happy in the end and, you know, grow and have that like self-improvement kind of arc. And both of these characters definitely gain a lot of self-awareness and growth throughout the whole entire story. It does span quite a few years. I think it spans like 10 years of time possibly, but in my opinion it was very rewarding. I found unlikable traits in each of the characters, but I wanted them to be happy and to be together at the very end, and I think that makes for good writing. Right now I'm sitting at like a 4.25, somewhere around there. As for the fall autumn elements of this book, I feel like I didn't really get strong fall vibes from the book despite the cover being very fall-esque. So my fall rating for this book is like 2 leaves out of 5. This morning I decided to pick up the second book that I'm reading for this fall romance video, and that book is If It Makes You Happy by Olivia. I love the cover of this book. It is super fall themed. It looks very cozy and like it is so reminiscent of Gilmore Girls to me. I'm not 100% sure what this book is about. I've only read the first chapter, but from what I can gather from the first chapter, Michelle, who's the main character of the story, she is going through a divorce currently, and her mother just passed away from illness. She lives in Seattle and her mother and father live in Vermont because they had opened a cozy little inn in Vermont, and I think that's probably where most of the story is going to take place. It seems like Michelle is going to be helping her father run the inn for the time being. From what I can tell, it's going to be one of those stories where she has to choose between like living in the big city or moving to like a small cozy area in Vermont. So my predictions for the story is that she's going to be battling with that internally. It does seem more of like your typical rom-com in comparison to You Again. I've seen a lot of great reviews and 5-star ratings for this book, so I'm excited to see what I think about it. Also, this isn't reading related, but it is fall related. In the spirit of only reading fall romances and making this a very fall themed video, I wanted to crochet a couple of fall trinkets for my room. Figured what I could do is make a new version of my coaster. That would be nice to make a fall themed one. I might work on that today as well. Pumpkin coaster. I don't know why the edges are curling in, which is kind of sad. It's kind of unfortunate, but look how cute. There's these little pumpkins on the edge. It's supposed to be flat, of course, like a coaster, and then these pumpkins are supposed to kind of go around the edge of the cup. They didn't turn out exactly like how the video turned out, but I think they do look like pumpkins. As for reading updates, I did make it a little bit further into If It Makes You Happy by Olivia. Thoughts on this book so far? I'm not 100% enjoying it. It's definitely giving off the fall cozy vibes that I'm looking for. So like 5 stars for the fall vibes, but I'm not 100% sold on the writing. The main female character in this book very much reminds me of Nora from Book Lovers, as of right now at least. She has that eldest daughter, older sister stereotype. Everyone in this small town is very engaging, wanting to help her, and she doesn't want to ask for help at all, even though she is struggling. She's very much afraid of failure, and she thinks that like asking for help is failure in her mind. I can kind of predict how the story is going to play out, but I think that's inevitable when you read a lot of the same genre. I'm so sorry if you can hear sounds from outside. My window's open and I totally forgot this whole time I was filming the clip. Anyway, that was the update, and I will continue to read If It Makes You Happy. I thought I'd give an update on where I'm at with If It Makes You Happy. I'm currently almost 50% of the way through with the book. I don't think I have much of an update outside of what I had already talked about with this book and my feelings. I think my problem lately with romance books is that authors have been trying to add a lot of depth to the characters, a lot of backstory, a lot of like mental health issues or things like that. Things that they're struggling with to make them, you know, like a fully round character. And while I definitely appreciate that, I feel like not all authors can do it well. So it kind of feels like that part of the storyline is very forced. I feel like there is a good subplot of Michelle running the inn and Cliff dealing with being a single dad and like his divorce and like both of them going through divorces actually. But I just don't feel like it's done strongly enough for me to really care about the characters. Just unfortunate that I've been kind of phasing out of the like stereotypical rom-com romance genre. That's kind of my thoughts for now, but hopefully it'll pick up. Reading update, I finished If It Makes You Happy last night, and then I did start on the third book, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But first off, to start with my review of If It Makes You Happy, I think I'll settle for a 3-star on this book. I didn't have any major issues with this book that made me like dislike it or anything. I did really like Michelle as a character and her growth throughout the story. She starts off the book being very closed off, a little bit like uptight and kind of being fearful that she is seen as boring. So she definitely starts off the book with that insecurity, and then as the book progresses and as the romantic relationship develops with her and Cliff, she kind of opens up a bit more. And then on the flip side, Cliff and his ex-wife were teenage parents. The reason why he got a divorce is because his ex-wife kind of wanted more from her life than like that small town life, and she had always kind of put it on Cliff for being the reason why she stayed in that small town. And his insecurity there is that he's always felt like a burden. And so when he meets Michelle and falls in love with her, he doesn't want to have like that same burden on her to be the reason why she stays when she wants to go back to Seattle. So she kind of helps him deal with that insecurity, and he helps her deal with her insecurities. And for that, I think the internal growth is very great there. I think my biggest gripe with the book was the pacing. Michelle was in Copper Run for 4 months, and somehow they became best friends and they fell in love. Sort of pacing just feels odd to me, especially when the characters are a lot older. I think it makes a lot more sense in YA stories when the characters meet and they fall in love kind of quickly. But I feel like in instances like this, where both of them have been in relationships before, albeit they weren't the best relationships, that it takes a bit more time to kind of develop that kind of connection with people is just what I think is realistic. This book was definitely an enjoyable read, and it definitely got me into the fall spirit. I feel like the descriptions of autumn very much put me in the fall spirit, so I will give it a 5 out of 5 for the fall vibes. But I think my overall rating for the book is about a 3-star. Last night I did start the third book that I was planning to read for this video, and that is People Watching by Hannah Bonam-Young. The author's note in this book is written so beautifully, like it made me more enticed to read this book just from reading Hannah's author's note. Hannah Bonam-Young is a Canadian author, and this book is loosely based off of a small city town in Muskoka, Ontario, which is very exciting because I'm actually going to Muskoka next month. But this book is based on Milo and Prue. Milo, our main male character, is traveling back to his hometown after kind of being a free-spirited traveler for the past couple of years. Prue, on the other hand, lives in this small town, and she's helping take care of her mother, who is dealing with Alzheimer's disease. That's all I got from the story so far. Say I'm not a huge fan of Milo right now. I think this type of character isn't my favorite male romance lead. He is very cocky and like self-assured, very flirtatious. It seems like he's had a lot of relationships, or at least like things in the past, and he's like very open about it. Like Ari and You Again was kind of like that, but I feel like it was done well. And in this book, I feel like I will not like him. So it's kind of hard to root for the relationship when I don't really like the main male character, but we'll see if it improves because I'm sure it will. Update, I am now almost 50% of the way through People Watching, so I thought it'd be a good time to give an update. Positives of the book: it is flying by really, really fast, and not in the way that it's like, oh, this is such a fun, fast-paced read. In the way that I'm glad that it's flying by fast because I want to get this book over with so bad. And I feel terrible for saying that because I know Hannah Bonam-Young is such a beloved author. I think I was really trying to convince myself to not dislike this book from like the get-go. Chapter 1, we are in Milo's POV, and I already didn't like him. Like he was already kind of giving me the ick. And the problem with me is I will not DNF books. Like I will try to see through till the end and hate read until the very end. And even then, I'll try to give the book 2 stars. This is just me guessing, but I think the reason why people like Milo is that they really like the physical description of him and his like physical attractiveness, so maybe that's why people kind of like Milo. But in regards to his personality, and not only that, like being in his mind, being in his perspective, I dislike it very much. I don't recall if I gave a synopsis of this book, but Prue, or Prudence, she lives in this small town and she's grown up there. She's like the town darling. Like imagine she's Rory Gilmore of Stars Hollow. That's what she is. And her mom has Alzheimer's, so her and her father are looking after their mom, but she hasn't been able to like leave the small town and kind of live her life, go to school, etc. Milo, on the other hand, is just stopping by for a few months to help his brother and sister-in-law kickstart their bar that they're opening in the small town. He literally quotes that he doesn't do anything but casual relationships, and Prue has never been in a relationship. She hasn't had any type of romantic relationships or like experiences at all. She's very, very inexperienced. On the other hand, Milo is very, very experienced. He has like a body count of over like 200 people or something like that. I think it's fine to be on either of those spectrums. However, Prue can be inexperienced without Milo being that promiscuous. Like I can't see the reasoning behind Milo having that experience, because even if Milo had a body count of 2, he would still be more experienced than Prue. Like he would still have that power dynamic over her. When Milo finds out that Prue is inexperienced, he like has this super odd reaction and becomes 10 times more creepy. And I cannot see myself rooting for this couple. If they had just focused on the subplots of their lives, I would be happy. There could be no romantic relationship developing and I would be totally fine with reading that book. I'm just not enjoying it so far. And I don't think this book is gonna get any higher than like a 2.5 star rating for me. Last night I did finish People Watching by Bonam-Young, and I cannot say for certain that I did not hate read the last like 50% of the book, and I think I'm going to give it like a 1.52 star, and I feel so bad doing that I almost wish I just DNF'd it and then I wouldn't have to rate the book. I definitely think that I've talked about all my grievances and issues with the book already. The last 50% of the book was no different. I felt the same exact way. I still did not like Milo very much as a main male character. Prue was kind of okay. After I finished reading, I did read a couple of reviews on Goodreads, and there were quite a few of like 1-star, 2-star reviews for this book, so I felt very justified in my rating. However, I did read a lot of reviews that in the ARC copy there were issues that people had with Milo and coercion and consent. In the final published version that I read, there wasn't anything like that I can recall, at least, and I'm so glad that that was changed from the ARC to the final copy, because if there was consent or coercion issues within the book, then I think I would have disliked it even more. I also want to flag that this book is a lot more explicit than the other Bonam-Young book I've read. A lot of the book is Prue discovering what it means to be like in a physically intimate relationship, and Milo kind of teaching her that. So a lot of those scenes are very dragged out. So if you're not a fan of that, I wouldn't recommend this book. Me personally, I don't mind reading those scenes in books as long as it kind of makes sense or it's like furthering the plot in some way. However, I was reading those scenes and like cringing to no end. Last thing I think I'll say about this book is that I feel like every storyline for the characters kind of just floated around. Like I feel like nothing was brought together in a cohesive manner. Like nothing outside of the romantic relationship was very well thought out. I also didn't really like how the romantic relationship played out. Like everything about Milo just creeped me out so much. How he just became so obsessed with her after, how he started developing feelings for her, and the thoughts that he was having in his head. I did not like very much about this book. But anyway, enough ranting about this book. Final thoughts are, I didn't enjoy it, but I can see potentially why someone else would enjoy it. And for that, I'm not giving it a 1 star. I'm going to say it's a 1.5 star. And also, it didn't really give me the fall vibes either. I think she mentioned the brisk autumn air like once in the book, if I recall correctly, and I guess their outfits, like Prue's outfits, were definitely very fall coded, which I really liked actually. But other than that, I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5 for how fall it felt. That pretty much wraps up this video. These books took me a lot longer to read than I expected it to, so we are a lot later into September now. And I also realized that it's been 1 year since I posted my very first YouTube video, which was like a book haul that I did last year in September. I just wanted to mention it because that now marks 1 year that I've been posting on YouTube. This has definitely been a very fun hobby for me to do. I love vlogging and I love reading books and I love talking about books. Hopefully I can do 1 video a month as I had originally set out to do. That pretty much wraps up this video. I'm definitely in the fall spirit now. If you want to keep up to date with what I'm reading outside of the videos, my Goodreads and Fable are always linked down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.